Warning: the following podcast show that you're about to listen to will include explicit language and content in which you, the members of the audience, may find offensive. Audience discretion is advised.
Welcome to another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience.
Yeah, boy.
Where anything and everything is a subject matter on the show, and no subject matter is ever taboo.
Damn, that's what's up with you.
And now, your host with the most, Mr. Kim Hoang. Bro, am I getting paid for this?
Hey, what is going on, everyone? How in the world are you? This is your boy Kim Hoang, the Asian sensation, the host with the most, the man with the plan, the guy that can bring the power less than half an hour, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, and now the duly appointed, the dude with the right attitude. And we're here once again for another episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, coming at you over in Wheaton, Maryland, over at the Prototype Studio. Wheaton, Maryland is a part of the Washington DC Metropolitan Area. Matter of fact, I looked this up, and if I'm actually reading this right, it's about more or less around, I'd say about 25 minutes outside of the Washington DC area, like the actual DC area. So that being said, it's great to be here. It's great to be here. I'm happy. I'm here in the booth, and we're just doing it. You know, it's a great day. By this time right now, it is June. Definitely late in the game of June, but it is June nonetheless. And it is wonderful. Like, the weather could not be any better. And the fact that it's warm now, it's summertime, so that means, guys, you can actually throw away your hoodies until like maybe October or November. Start wearing the shorts, start wearing the flip-flops, start wearing, the Van t-shirts on a regular basis, or sleeveless t-shirt, because you know why? Once again, summertime, and it feels good. It feels great. Man, and like I've always said, I am an Asian dude, and by nature, we are like warm, individuals. We don't like snow and cold for anything. Give us anything hot, anything like, if it's like 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, we're good. If it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit, fine, we're good. We just do not want to tip the scales at like, I don't know, below 55 degrees Fahrenheit. I feel like that's dangerous. That's dangerous. It's not good. We probably would be not favoring life, as I would like to say, and that's just all there is to it. That's all there is to it. So here we are, about to start this episode here in the studio. Alone with my thoughts, kind of, sort of. It is kind of a little bit powerfully warm in here. I'm not going to lie. I think the sun is aiming towards the building of our studio, and we're feeling it. So underneath the desk, I do have like a little fan that's like blowing around, around my legs and in my body. So I should be fine. It should be good. I'm just like pumped, ready to go. Ready to create content, ready to give you guys the best of what I got. And I just want to go ahead and start it off with the bang and so forth, but I need that energy. Can I get a round of applause, guys? Thank you. I really appreciate that. God bless each and every one of you guys. I want to go ahead and start out this episode with something that recently happened that, I took a little bit of offense to it. And let me explain. Normally, if something does bother me, I try not to let it show, because I have a poker face. But when it's something that involves me, it involves a little bit of my community in a sense, something that, I'm involved in, or something that I like to do, then yeah, I do get a little bit bothered by that. And why not? I do have a right to go ahead and feel a little bit angry, a little ticked off if something happens where I hear it, I don't agree with it, and I take it a certain way. And I'm pretty sure that when I tell people about this situation, it's probably going to be the same way too for a fair amount of people. Now, there are going to be some people that are going to be like, well, I don't know anything about that because that need not apply to me. And that's fair. That is totally fair. I mean, some people, overall, we are all built different, right? We all have different personalities. We all have different interests. We all walk on the different spectrum of life. That's just a normal thing. And it's okay. If everyone was just the same, it would just be the way. But because of the fact that we're all built different, we're all a little bit more complex than the norm, it's okay. It's okay. Recently, I actually was tuning on to a radio show. It was something that I was tuning in on the AM. So believe it or not, yes, although majority of the time on the radio I do listen to FM, I do listen to AM occasionally. And it was like a local radio station based in the DC area. And there was a conversation about, people and voices and creativity and stuff like that. And the basic gist that I got, and again, I'm still I'm still processing this, and I'm still a little bit hot about it. But long story short, I believe it was the radio host there that said that, when it comes to, having a voice, people of creativity do not have it, and they are not allowed to have one. And when I heard that, I literally jumped up. I was like, what in the world is going on? What is happening? Like, why is somebody even saying that type of situation? I was at a loss for words here. You know what I mean? I was like, what? Now, for those that don't know the definition of the word, basically, creativity is the use of the imagination or original ideas, especially in the production of an artistic work. Artistic, mediums, creative mediums. In this case, like specifically, I'm a podcaster. That's a creative medium. People who are actors in film and theater. That's another artistic work. Some people even do things like, being a musician, whether if you are a singer or if you play a musical instrument, that's an artistic work. Being a cook, and learning how to be a chef and manipulating food and making food taste good and look good, that's artistic work. Photography, artistic work. People that do general arts like painting, sculpting, ceramics, industrial art, metal welding art, things of that nature. Whatever it is that deals with the form of creativity, if you're putting that from, thought to paper into reality, guess what? That's an artistic work. That means that you have a creative medium. And when you're creative, you have a voice. So let me give you some examples. A podcaster's voice is exactly what it is. It's his voice. He actually grabs a microphone and he just goes ahead and talks, or he or she talks about whatever it is on their mind, whatever subject matter. They spit out their opinions. They talk about what they want to talk about, and they do it with such emotion and conviction. That's our voice. For an actor, their voice is actually portraying a role and actually taking their abilities to make that character their own and say the dialogue in a way that they feel is appropriate for that character and for the art. Displaying it on either in the methods of either on film or theater. That's art. How about being a musician? If you're playing an instrument, the way that you play your instrument, the way that you present it out there for the people to actually hear and listen to the musical beats and hear, the melody arrangement. Or if you're a singer, the way that you project your voice and, portray the lyrics and how you deliver the lyrics, that's art. Now they're saying, with that type of art and that type of creativity, and with us having creative mediums like that or something else, we don't have a voice. We don't have a say. And I think that's wrong. I think that's absolutely wrong, and I think it's ridiculous. We all have voices, and we all use it in our own way. It may not be the conventional way, and many people think like just speaking up, in a meeting or speaking up in a debate, when it comes to politics or whatever, which, again, I don't even like to talk politics, but I think I'll just throw that as an example, just that I will throw a bone on this one. This will be the one time, like, get out jail pass, with a free ghetto card, if you will. And let me tell you something, guys. We do have a voice. To all my creative brothers and sisters out there, don't let that information that I just gave you from the media fool you. We all have a voice. We all take a long time to cultivate it and to get it there, but when we get it there and when we deliver, we actually exercised our voice. Now, whatever opinions that we spit out from that voice, whatever message that we spit out, that's ours. And that might be from an opinion that we strongly believe in. It may not always be the opinion of what a lot of people believe in, but that voice is still ours. And I think it's important that we actually exercise that. I think it's important that we really get that piece out there, because if we don't, people will not really know what we're thinking, and they won't hear what we have to say. They won't really know what's going on. So therefore, if we don't have our voices heard, if we don't have our opinions heard, we can't make an impact, And I think that we have that power to make an impact every single day of everyday life, whether if it's through our creative medium or through another influence that was inspired by our creative medium. We got a voice. We can use it. There's nobody there that can really stop us, Not your critics, not your so-called friends, not your family, none of that. It would be real cool. It would be great. It'd be awesome. Again, it would be cool if people actually supported you in that, and that would be great. But to completely shut it down and say, no, you don't have a voice, I have a problem with that. I do have a problem with that. And I'm hoping that all my creative brothers and sisters at this point, when you hear this message, I hope that you take it to heart. And what I'm going to say is this. If you are using your creative medium to get your message out there, and if you're really touching the masses, you're doing something right. If even one person is paying attention to what you're doing, and they may comment about it because you said something through your voice of your creativity and your art, you're doing something right. It's when you don't make any noise, you don't make any traction, you don't commit to any action in order to make that voice be heard, that is a problem. Then and only then can you say, you know what, I have no one to blame but myself. That's all on me. I was the one that didn't make the noise. I was the one that did not take that initiative. I was not the one to really do what I could have done in order for me to be heard. And again, I got to take it. I got to take that one. That falls in my lap. That's me. That's me. Can I guarantee that, when you actually make your voice be heard, that it will be heard effectively, or people will, be attracted to it like flies to honey? I can't really guarantee that. I can guarantee that at least that your voice will be heard, and you made a statement and you did exactly what you needed to do as you originally intended. And by that, if you commit to that and make that much of an effort, then I feel like it's worth it. So if you want to be heard, yes, please be heard by any means. There's nothing wrong with that. As long as you actually put that thought into action, then that's that piece that's fitting into the puzzle. That's that grease that we need in order to start cooking. You know what I mean? And I'd rather be the person to make a lot of noise and say a lot of things and be heard than to stay silent. We all have an opinion. It's we're allowed to have it. We all have a voice. We're allowed to have it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. As long as we're not harming anybody, especially ourselves, I think it's okay. But please understand that, if you don't take that first step, you literally can't go anywhere. You're still stuck in the original spot where you started. And I think I'm going to leave it at that. So guys, what we're going to do is that we are going to take a break. This was good. This was a great starter. And, right now we're going to go ahead and take 5. We're going to take a break, do what you need to do, but come right back because we're going to go ahead and jump into round 2, the second segment of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. So do what you need to do. Restroom break, water break, food break. I need to return a text break, or I need to return a phone call break, whatever you need to do. And for those that partake in, tobacco products, if you need your tobacco products, go get it and, come right back. Because the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is coming back in full effect. And we're just cooking. We're just heating up, baby. We'll see you in one moment. I want to tell you about an amazing store that's really good for all musicians, music enthusiasts, and a whole lot more, which is Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center in Wheaton, Maryland. That's right, you heard it correctly. Since 1958, Chuck Levin's has been actually tearing up the game when it comes to the music scene. And guess what? Since 1958, they have been the store to go to and a must-visit destination for any serious musician passing through our nation's capital. So, if you're actually a person that's in a band looking for a new instrument, such as an electric guitar, an acoustic guitar, a bass guitar, or maybe some drums, if you're a DJ looking for like the greatest DJ equipment, such as turntables and so forth, they got you. Hey, are you actually in an orchestra playing a woodwind instrument, brass instrument, or strings? They got you. They got all the classical instruments that you need. And let's not forget, for all my fellow podcasters, need a microphone? They got you. Need a podcasting vocal track recorder? They got you. They got everything, man. And I'm telling you, it's the best place to go. So if you want to check them out, go ahead and do so, because right here at Chuck Levin's, they're the best. Forget the rest. Mess with the best. Located over at 11151 Veers Mill Road in Wheaton, Maryland. They're open Monday through Saturdays, 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. If you want to know more about what they have to offer, you can go over to chucklevins.com online or give them a buzz at area code 301-946-8808. Chuck Levin's Washington Music Center. Like I said before, don't worry about the rest. Mess with the best.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. And, I hope that you guys enjoyed your break. You took a chance to relax, give yourself, a few moments to kind of breathe, to, drink some water, or just do what you needed to do. For me, I always thought that taking a break and taking that moment is always good for me. I really enjoyed it. To be honest with you, all I really did, if anything, was just basically sit down, and I was breathing, and I let the fan in the studio just kind of hit my direction. Because again, as nice as this, little setup is, as really cool as it sounds, to be honest with you, it is a little hot. It is a little bit hot. It feels like a sauna. So your boy currently right now, even though he's working for you, he is working for you, and he's working real hard. But, if I can be, 100, I am sweating in here. So, once I actually leave, after a full day of recording and whatnot, the one thing I'm going to do is, obviously, number one, I can't wait to go home. That's already a given. And number two, I can't wait to take a cold shower and kind of battle the heat elements, because it is starting to get hot. The humidity, at least around here in the Washington DC Metropolitan Area, is starting to creep up a little bit. So yeah, there's a lot that's going on here for show. But be rest assured, that everything is going to be good and everything's going to be cool. So as long as I'm, staying cool, I got the fan on in here. I'm keeping hydrated by drinking some water in here, which, I do have a little bit of some water in my hydro flask. I'm going to be fine, the one thing I have to give a real quick tip to everybody, that when you're in the hot sun, in the summer, especially like if you're over at somewhere where it's hot and humid like the DMV, understand this. Number one, the shade is your friend. If you're in a shaded area, you're good. I mean, you might feel a little bit of some of the residual heat, but as long as you're in the shade, the shade beats out about like 50% of what the temperature could be if you were openly exposed to the sun. So shaded areas are really good. Water is really good. Make sure that you keep hydrated on a regular basis. That's very, very important. You know what I mean? And I think also for the people that do like to exercise, get the workout on. If you're going to go ahead and do some workouts, on the outside, the best times of the day are like early in the morning or late in the evening. That way you don't feel like you're really overexerting yourself and you feel like you're killing yourself, and then something happens. Maybe you might get a little bit of heat stroke or whatever. We're just trying to make sure that you guys are doing it right and you're doing it safe. That's important. So words of wisdom, tips, to follow and so forth. So that's my 2 cents. So now we're going into the second segment. And obviously a lot of people have talked a little bit about this before. I've read a little bit about it online, and I thought to myself, if I have not mentioned this before, I'm going to go ahead and do it again. And I don't mind doing it again as a friendly reminder if that is the case. Which I do want to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is obviously the world in the field of martial arts. But more so, specifically, it's all about the martial arts journey, the journey of the martial arts, the journey of actually going into the dojang for the first time, or the dojo, signing up, being a student, and then riding that train all the way out to the, very near the last stop, which is, the black belt examination, which we all know for us black belts and for those that actually have trained in the martial arts for a long time, the black belt is just the beginning of the art. But let's not talk about that piece just yet. Everyone that has been a martial artist and has tested and been promoted to a black belt, especially a higher level black belt, you guys know and understand by years of training and seeking perfection and just trying to change yourself to be, you know, a better person, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally in the martial arts, trying to be, you know, for a lack of a better term, trying to be the omniscient one, which means you basically are trying to be like the walking encyclopedia of martial arts. You know everything, you know, from A to Z. You know what I mean? And let me tell you something. When we first think about taking the martial arts, what is the one common thing that we think about? We think about, oh my gosh, we could take martial arts. We can do it, you know, because I want to earn a black belt. I mean, that, now, to be fair, that is a great motivator. It's cool, you know. That's a great, you know, everybody talks about, you know, wanting to earn the black belt, and rightfully so, because from the untrained eye, from the person that doesn't know about it at that time, we think that, you know, the black belt is the championship. You know, that's the trophy. That's the one thing that we came for, you know. And, you know, again, from somebody that is not versed in that world, that may not know about it a lot, yes, I understand where you're coming from with that. So I get it. I understand it. I feel you. That's cool. I am not mad at it. Not mad at it at all. I think that's cool, and I get it. Boom, for real. But of course, you know, along the way, we think of the other reasons why we want to go ahead and, you know, go on that martial arts train to join the journey. You know, maybe there's a lot of reasons why. You know, maybe there's something with us that, you know, we want to go ahead and develop that self-discipline, to develop self-confidence, to have, you know, a certain structure in our lives that we don't normally get without the help of the martial arts. And of course, you know, that's valid too. Now, when you become a martial artist and you start that formal training, that's where the journey starts, you know, because you're starting into something, you're learning information, your body is slowly adjusting to the knowledge, and it takes time. You know, with a lot of time, you know, that we train into the martial arts, the better that we get proficient at it. And then there's a chance that, hey, you know, first 30 days, you know, or, you know, 3 months equivalent, you know, if we are qualified enough, and if the teacher says that we are qualified to go ahead and take that examination, then we go ahead and take the examination. And then we do the examination by just doing everything that we were taught just to get to the next level. And if when we pass, we'll know it. And then when we pass, then that's just a new beginning, a newer chapter in your martial arts journey. You know what I mean? With every belt rank that you go through, there's going to be new challenges, new responsibilities, and new power. So each time that you go up in the rank, it's going to be that way. Especially, like, you know, with our system, though, when I mean this, our system, it's a system that I grew up with and trained in the Muay Kwan style of Taekwondo. You know, our journey was the white belt, the yellow belt, the green belt, the blue belt, the third brown, the second brown, the first brown, and then eventually the black belt. So there's basically like 8 steps altogether in the black belt road. And it's a lot of work. A lot of work, a lot of hours, a lot of discipline that we have to develop amongst ourselves, a lot of training. And not to sound dramatic, but I got to be honest with you, because it does happen, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, you know? So one of them for sure you're going to be getting a lot of is the sweating. Because, you know, when you're working, you're working hard, you're going to sweat it, and you're going to make sure that you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. I think somebody actually said, I don't know if it was my teacher, but somebody said, man, when you're not sweating, you're not working. And to a degree, I do have to laugh about it, but I do agree with it. I feel like, you know, when you're sweating, you're definitely paying your dues. And that's another part of the journey of the martial arts, is paying your dues, doing what you need to do, staying on point, attending a lot of class, being accountable for your training. Now, the instructors are in charge of giving you the knowledge, but it's up to you to maintain that knowledge. That's the key element. That's where the art of self-discipline comes in, because you're training yourself. You're doing it by yourself. The instructor, the master, the grandmaster, the head teacher can give you a map of the journey of where you need to take and how to take it, but it's up to you to actually physically make the trip and to go through those challenges. You can't go anywhere in life if you don't put the keys in the ignition, turn it, and then start the engine and move forward. You know what I mean? You can't go anywhere, because at that point you're still stuck exactly at that same point where you started before you even made the attempt at the journey. So I would say this to everybody that's going through the journey, their martial arts journey: I salute you. It's not an easy one. There's definitely going to be some challenges. It's only easy if you consistently work at it a lot during the week, and to the point where you do it so well and you remember it move by move that it's second nature. It's natural. You don't even have to think. You're just doing, because it's all so much in the muscle memory. And that is fantastic. And that's where a lot of martial artists want to be. Now, there's going to be some times in the martial arts journey where obviously, there's going to be some people that are motivated and they want to be on the quest to be their very best. They want to go ahead and do everything that they can to, earn a black belt eventually, or if they are a black belt, that they want to achieve the higher ranking black belt, like the next level. But there are times where there are people that do unfortunately they make that decision where maybe they part ways. I've seen a dangerous pattern with that, because there are some people, not all, but there are some people who do have the ability to leave it all behind, come back, train, and still remember everything that they need to go to. That is rare. Would that be recommendable? I wouldn't recommend that, not at all. And then there are some people that unfortunately they just say, you know what, I see the stop sign, literally the red octagon with the STOP letters are right in front of my face. It's that's where it ends. And it is sad, because there are some people that unfortunately they stop at an early rank, or what's even worse is that literally you're on the cusp and the only belt left is the black belt test, the black belt. And when you don't test and you stop right there at that point, it's not a good feeling. That's going to be a certain regret that you're going to carry with for the rest of your life. And you're going to be asking those questions of the what ifs and the what hows, and why didn't I do it, or what could have happened if I tested, if I just stayed with the program. So understand that with the martial arts journey, it can be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, it could just be a thing. The most important thing that you have to realize is that your journey is your journey. You are the master of your own destiny, and you are the product of how much work you're willing to put in. You know what I mean? Even for the kids, I want to say it like this: it's not your parents' responsibility to get you there. You know what I mean? You got to want to go there. So kids, if you example, the younger kids, kids that are like 17 and below, understand that you can go and you can train, but you got to get there. You got to be willing to commit and get to the dojang and start training. Even let's say, for example, if your brothers or sisters don't want to do it, If your mom and dad doesn't want to do it, but you want to do it, press that issue and say, look, you guys are not training. I want to train. I want to train because, I'm that hungry. Feed me the knowledge. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to, to hit the ground running with or without you. I want to succeed here in this art. It's very important to me. And I wish everybody good luck in their journey, no matter what it is, because at the end of the day, it is your journey. It is your journey. It is it's your travels, and you are in charge of how it's done. I can't tell you how to do it because I'm not you. And most likely, I'm not even your instructor. And even then, I can't even tell you how to do it in that respect. I can only advise you that, if you keep at it and if you work every day that you can, then the chances are you're going to be fine, and it's just going to be an easy path for you because you put in that time, you put in that effort, and you're the one that's making it happen because you're the one that's really hungry. You don't want like a piece of cheesecake. You want the whole cheesecake. You want the whole enchilada. You know what I mean? So that's the way that I figure it. So guys, hope that clarifies a couple of things. Your boy wanted to drop some knowledge, and he done did it. So there you go. We're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to come back to the greatest segment of them all, the Q&A forum segment. That's right. You ask the questions, and I'm going to do my best to answer it. So take 5, do what you need to do, but come right back because the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is still up and running. We're still fighting. There's still a lot of rounds left before this fight is over. So, do what you need to do. Come back, and we'll see you in a few. Mark my word.
In life, we all want to have great health and excellent physical fitness. However, it's never given, only earned. That said, if you want to go to a gym that will help you to get there, then look no further than Kicked Up Fitness at National Business Parkway in Annapolis Junction, Maryland. Their mission at Kicked Up is to provide the ultimate functioning training facility that focuses solely on your success, with a diverse team that's highly qualified and dedicated to taking your fitness goals to the next level. Kicked Up also offers a variety of group classes and personal training programs that provide something for everyone, regardless of your fitness level. They believe in working hard, achieving results, all while having fun. So come visit their facility in person, which is located at 114 National Business Parkway, Suite 100 in Annapolis Junction, Maryland, 20701. Now, if you see my friend Sean Queen, who's the owner of Kicked Up, tell him that Benny Chow of Miscalculated sent you, and he'll hook you up with a complimentary 7-day pass just to try it out. Need more info? Give him a call. 410-888-9066. Email them at kufitnessnbp@gmail.com or visit them at their website at www.kufitnessnbp.com. Kicked Up Fitness. Never given, only earned.
And now, back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience with your host, Kim Hoang.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. You know what time it is in terms of the fact that we are closing it down. Before we get into it, I just want to give a little bit of a friendly reminder once again that the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience is asking for help on a voluntary basis to anyone out there that would like to assist our podcast show by the ways of sponsorship and or financially donating to our podcast show to help make the quality of our podcast show that much better. Everything that we raise, in terms of, financially, will go towards, getting more equipment and better equipment that we need, such as microphones for our in-studio guests, XLR cables for the microphones, headphones, even a MacBook Pro. The MacBook Pro is the official computer of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience and is the main device that we use to actually create, edit, and make each episode of the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience that good in quality, just like how you're used to it every single time that you hear it on the online airwaves. Now, whatever that you can donate, no matter what the value is going to be appreciative. So, example, and I'm inserting the joke here that if someone wants to donate $5 million, not that I don't think anybody would want to donate that, but you never know. We definitely would love you for that, and we would thank you, even to as little as $5. Every little bit helps, and we would appreciate your help and your kindness. You know what I mean? Because everything that we get through you guys, the charitable contributions and donations that you give. Hence why I always say that, this podcast is basically, your podcast too. And what you give and help us out, and, that's what you get. That said, if you want to go ahead and make a donation, you can do it in these methods. You can either donate by PayPal and or Venmo, and you can go ahead and donate by looking us up. The tag name is at Kim Hoang MD Actor. Once again, that is the tag name at KIMHOANG MD ACTOR, and or on Cash App, which our tag name is the $. So once again, Cash App. The tag name is $ Kim Hoang MD Actor. $ KIMHOANG MD ACTOR. And ladies and gentlemen, this is it. We have the main event of our podcast, our Q&A forum, question and answer segment. You know what time it is. It's awesome. We have 7 questions. You basically ask the questions and we will answer it. And to be honest with you, with this one, we actually have 2 more bonus questions along with the 7 questions. So a grand total of 9. So that's great. So let me go ahead and get this started because I'm really excited for this. So here we go. Question number 1. Kim, what are your opinions in the world of martial arts when people don't acknowledge you because you are not part of the same martial arts organization that they belong to, or you're not someone well known because you are not a famous martial arts competitor that has not won a martial arts grand championship? Winter from Hershey, Pennsylvania. Number 1, I like your name. It's awesome because you spell it WYNTER, not WINTER. It's WYNTER. That's really cool. In Hershey, Pennsylvania, home of, Hershey's chocolate. God bless it. It's amazing. Winter, I always think that when people don't acknowledge you because, you're not a part of the same martial arts organization that they are in, and the fact that, or I should say that, because you haven't been a martial arts competitor winning grand championships and you're not known that way, I feel like that's really bogus. And I feel like that's really wrong. The martial arts community is all about, unity, and we're there to support each other, and we're supposed to give each other the, the love and respect that we deserve. And because of the fact that, let's say I'm not in the same organization as you are, or I'm not a champion, grand champion competitor, and, you're trying to, not even speak to me because I don't fit any of those criteria, I feel like that's a real true crime that they're committing. That's a terrible thing. And I really feel like anybody that does that, I'm not pointing anybody out in particular, but if anybody does that, you're wrong and you're ridiculous. And you are truly not a part of this martial arts community. You know, we're a part of the community to be a little bit more positive, to be uplifting, and to just, you know, put a smile on people's faces and let them know that anything and everything can happen, you know. So the fact that they're trying to be a little bit more of a person that's trying to cause more divide than unite, it's unacceptable in my opinion. So, you know, furthermore, I would say separate yourself from that pack. You know, it seems like it's a real, it's like a trap door, you know, and you don't want to go through that trap door. So don't worry about that mess, you know. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep training. Keep working hard. Keep being a good person, and it'll be all right. Okay. So, question number 2 is, Kim, what are your opinions on those punching bags that have water inside the bag, and those punching bags that are spring-loaded? Danny from Newport, Cincinnati. Danny, I think, honestly, I would say this. On paper, I think it's a good idea, and there's definitely a lot of, you know, advantages and so forth, and I could see why people would come up with these ideas, but in the long run, I think, you know, the water-filled punching bag is not good. I mean, although when you hit it, it's a softer, like, landing and entry when you hit with, like, a punch or a kick, but, you know, what if you break it and bust it open? You know, then that's a lot of, like, water falling out of the bag, and that's a huge mess to clean up. You know, I'd rather just, you know, have a punching bag that has, like, you know, traditional stuffing, or like, you know, ripped up shirts or something, a lot of fabric and or sand, you know. I feel like that's pretty good. Those spring-loaded punching bags, I mean, it's pretty good when you hit it because it does kind of retain back, but that's a lot of bounce going on. You know, for all that, I'd rather just have a regular traditional punching bag that's held with a chain that's like being held in the ceiling or something like that, because that way, you know, you can stop the momentum and it's not going to really flip-flop like whoom, 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 that type of thing. So question number 3, Kim, what is the food craze that you never tried but always wanted to? Annette from Charlotte, North Carolina. You know, I just actually thought about this the other day, Charlotte, and I definitely had told a friend of mine that I always wanted to try. There's a specific grape that I've seen in Target, and it's actually a cotton candy flavor. Now, I don't know how they do that, but it's very intriguing to me, and I always wanted to try it out. And somehow I feel like, you know, when I do, it might actually be, you know, exactly what that flavor profile is, and I'm just curious. For sure, I would definitely eat all of those grapes, but, you know, if I didn't like it, you know, I would just say, you know what, at least I tried. So that would be the big food craze that I always wanted to try. That and the cronut. I always wanted to try the cronut because I didn't really know what the big hoopla was about the cronut. I mean, you know, it's a combination between a croissant and a donut, so it's a cronut. So I'm really trying to figure out what in the world's going on with that. Question number 4. Kim, what are your thoughts on getting multiple black belts ranks in multiple martial arts, but not sticking to one art? Terrence from Mount Washington, Kentucky. I'm not saying it's bad when you take a martial art and you earn a black belt, because at least from that perspective, you finish what you started. But if you keep on going, you know, flip-flopping to different arts, I think that just means that you're just trying to find the one that you really like the most. Or like the modern day Bruce Lee, you're just trying to incorporate a lot of martial arts into like one universal singular art. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's wrong, but I think it does make things a little bit confusing because, you know, you need to have one that's like the base, You know what I mean? Like, I am forever, yes, I do cross-train in Muay Thai kickboxing. I have tried some mixed martial arts, but I always go back to Taekwondo. You know what I mean? So I think that is forever going to be, like, you know, my base. You know, so I have a strong foundation in that. Question number 5. Okay, so Kim, what are the things, or what are some of the things you do when your mental health challenges hit you hard? April from Yazoo City, Mississippi. Good question, April. And I would think, honestly, that, you know, when it comes to my mental health, and if it hits me and I feel very vulnerable, there's a lot of things that I do. Obviously, you know, I have a great support group of people that I know that are suffering with mental health issues and struggles, and I reach out to them. Obviously, I go to a NAMI in-person support group meeting or a NAMI virtual support group meeting, and then I just air out my grievances, and I just kind of listen and so forth and go from there. Sometimes I like to do physical outlets like, you know, exercising, you know, doing various exercise in order to be in a good, you know, situation, for sure. But that's just like, you know, my things that I do to kind of, you know, calm the storm, if you will. I know that with mental health challenges, it's different for a lot of people because everybody has a different diagnoses and everybody does different things in order to get better, you know? So whatever it is that you need to do that may work for you, that's probably your best bet, because what I do for me in my situations may not help everybody. It may not be the answer, and that's okay. You know, you just got to do things that work for you and your situation and make sure that you put yourself in a good situation. You know what I'm saying? So that's the bottom line. Question number 6, Kim, a few episodes back, you talked about a couple of releases in the WWE where a lot of superstars got released, including R-Truth being released, only for him to come back at the Money in the Bank event recently. What are your thoughts? Jack from Los Lunas, New Mexico? I didn't see that happening. I know I answered that question before about what I thought about a lot of you know, like a lot of talented WWE wrestlers who got released. I know I made an episode about that, and I answered that question, and I did bring in R-Truth because at the time he was released, you know, because they weren't going to renew his contract. And then when he came back, you know, it was a total shock because, you know, I, along with every fan, thought that that was it for him. He was done. Now, I know that in the Money in the Bank, there's like, it's like an event after that event where it's like they have like an interview and so forth, and there's a lot of questions. So it's kind of like, you know, hey, this is the post show of, you know, Money in the Bank. And Triple H actually said, you know, it was a work. I don't think that was really true, but it is what it is. I mean, I'm just glad to see that, you know, he's back. You know, R-Truth is back. I understand that he's just going to go by his government name, like Ron Killings. And if that's the case, that's cool. You know, I feel like, you know, they probably had made an initial mistake and they probably had wanted to correct that. And I'm glad that they did. So, question number 7. Recently, the movie The Karate Kid Legacies came out on the big screen. Will you actually see this movie? Christina from Midland, South Dakota. For sure. For sure. I think I definitely would want to see that because it's a movie that is associated with a film that is one of my most favorite like films of all times in my life, in The Karate Kid. You know, I would say that, you know, because it's that name and that brand is attached to this, and they actually have brought back some characters from, you know, the OG to the more like, you know, like I guess like the present or, something at least a little bit more recent, as a fan, you're very, very curious on, what happens and where it goes. Now, I haven't seen it yet, but a lot of people have said it was pretty good, and they have recommended me to go ahead and check it out. And since they know me that well, like they do, and they know that I'm all about the martial arts, I think that I really have to go ahead and check it out. I mean, I would really be a terrible person if I did not check this out. So I definitely will at a certain point. Maybe this weekend I might check it out. I don't know. So question number 8, which is now the beginning of the bonus questions. Question number 8 is, how good is Spotify for creators when it comes to being an instrument for podcasting? Robin from St. Paul, Minnesota. I do like it. I do like Spotify for creators, and I think it's incredible. I use it a lot to post a lot of my episodes of my podcast in that way. I know people who have actually used it. And I mean, like, I personally know them, and I see them actually make an episode using Spotify for creators, even more so that they're using it for their video podcasting, and I think it's incredible, and the fact that it's free, and that the fact that it's from Spotify, who are like, that's the name for like music streaming, and now they're trying to get into, podcasting creations. That is amazing, and that's awesome. So I will forever be a person that supports Spotify for creators. It is our official tool here at the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, and it's incredible. And the last question, question number 9, the bonus question, the final bonus question, and the final question of them all. Kim, rate your black belt experiences. Elsie from Eugene, Oregon. First degree black belt was a very memorable one for sure. Because that was where I actually entered the black belt rank for the first time. And it was incredible at that. It was hard because I've seen a lot of black belt tests, but at the time I never really engaged in a black belt test because I didn't know what it was like from a personal standpoint. So I didn't really have anything to really compare it to, you know what I mean? But when I did it, it was a lot of hard work. It was a lot of struggle, but I managed to get through it and to earn it. And I felt like that was like a very great achievement in my life because in our school, black belts are just not given like that. It's not. You earn your success. So it's like you either earn it and do exactly what you're supposed to do it the right way, work hard, and make it happen, or, you don't work hard and you gamble big time on whether or not you would actually earn that prestigious rank. The second degree black belt test was a pretty fun one because then, I kind of grew up in the black belt rank. So now I'm not a first degree black belt anymore. And that was like the first time that I would ever receive a black belt when I, got promoted to actually have a black belt with, my name sewn on the belt. With my name on one side in English and the other one in Korean with like 2 sewn bars in there. And that was pretty cool because now it's like, you're visually identifiable, which was really rad. And I was like, man, this is pretty sweet because, when you get your belt embroidered like that, depending on what school you go to in the system of it, your first degree black belt will just be a black belt that doesn't have anything on it. But then when you start to get, in the higher degrees, you get those type of belts that are embroidered. And then you kind of feel like you're a member of an exclusive club, a fraternity. And that's really awesome. And so for me, it was like, I got my foot in the door and now I'm a part of this fraternity. The most recent one, which was the third degree black belt test, was probably like the best one for me, because it was like more so now took so many tests, and this was my third one, and I knew what was expected of me, and I felt like, it was just a symbol of like growing up, after all these years of training and, maturity and finding my way. I'm now testing for a very prestigious rank. You know what I mean? A very prestigious rank in a 3rd degree black belt. That's like, to some schools, that's like what, the one more rank that you earn, which is a 4th degree black belt, depending on the school, could mean that, you're a master at that point. So, and, in the 3rd degree black belt, I kind of felt like, okay, that's, just one more to the 4th, you know what I mean? But I enjoyed my time with all of my examinations and passing them all, because they all had its purpose, and you definitely could see the level of change in the growth and the maturity, and I just love them all. I can't say that I had one bad experience over the other. I would definitely say that each experience that I had when it came to testing for a black belt and being through the black belt exam, it was just a great experience, knowing that I was growing up, and knowing that when I passed and when I got promoted, it meant that, I still have a lot in the gas tank, and I'm still have much to offer, and it's incredible. And that's it. That's all that we got. I'm happy that we actually put this puppy to rest, and it's incredible. It's been a good one. So let's just go ahead and close it down, ladies and gentlemen, that, just to remind everybody that we are on social media. You can find us on Facebook. Just go over to the search box and, type in the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. It'll be there. We are on Instagram and on Twitter, now known as X, and you can find us at the screen name or the tag name TKHPC Experience. Once again, it's at TKHPC Experience, all in one word, lowercase letters. Please follow us, and we will follow you back. We are on 6 podcasting platforms that you can tell people about on your social media. Those podcasting platforms are Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, YouTube Music, and let me see, we also have Audible and also iHeartRadio. Do us a favor, if you are on Spotify, please give us a 5-star ranking. We truly appreciate that. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please give us a 5-star ranking and a positive written review. Because the more times you actually do that, the more the chance that our podcast will actually be in the front of the lines, and somebody could be like, hey, the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience, I heard about this. Charles told me about this. He told me that I should I should follow and subscribe to this podcast. Yes, and yes. Please like the podcast. Please, follow it, and please become a subscriber to all of the podcasting platforms that we are on. You know what I mean? Last but not least, if you want to be a guest, if you want to be a guest host, if you have any constructive criticism, or if you just have a question for our Q&A segment, email us. Email address is the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience at gmail.com. Whatever the subject is, put it in the subject box, and whatever you have to say, just put it in the body, and then email it and send it out. I'll probably read it within a day or two, but once I actually read it, I will respond back, because I like that type of communication. Anyways, I want to thank you guys. I really do appreciate it. Please be safe out there. You know what I mean? Don't do anything that we're not supposed to do, because it doesn't do us any good. If you do that and you harm yourself, get buried in a pine box and get lowered to 6 feet under. We don't want that to happen. We want you to be healthy. We want you to be happy. We want you to be living life because you deserve it. And anybody else that tells you that you don't deserve it, you can tell them to go, kiss your rear end, because you don't have time for that. You only have time for the positive, never the negative. So that being said, here for the one time, recording
over at the Prototype Studio in Wheaton, Maryland. I want to say thank you very much. It's your boy Kim Hoang, your host, the host with the most, the man with the plan, the guy that has the power that can bring it less than a half an hour, and the dude with the right attitude. Saying thank you for tuning in to the Kim Hoang Podcast Experience. We do appreciate it. We love y'all. Thank you so much for your support. Just keep remembering that, I keep doing this for you guys. And as long as you guys want me to still do this, I will do it until I have no more air in my lungs and I literally can't do it anymore. Guys, it's been real. It's been fun. Thank you. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.